All right, Brock is just coming straight in. So no, Justin. Brock, welcome to the Global FinTech Awards.
Well, glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess while Justin's having some connectivity issues, why don't we get started and give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Well, happy to do that. I've been in the, well, we got Justin now, so we'll I guess, let him take lead. Justin, can you hear us?
Not yet. All right, keep going, Brock.
Again, I'm Brock Pierce. I've been I guess, a digital transformationist or futurist, working with technology well over half my life, starting with digital media, trying to build what you'd think of today as YouTube, Hulu, or Netflix back in 1997, 98, 99, and the internet 1.0 boom. I then moved into virtual reality, where I was the primary market maker for virtual currency or digital currencies in online games like World of Warcraft and Second Life. We were PayPal's largest merchant for years. We were instrumental in the launch of Alipay. And we were buying and selling all the digital currencies, with hundreds of thousands of people mining out of those games professionally, which then led to cryptocurrency, where I'm chairman of the Bitcoin Foundation. I was chairman of Mastercoin. We were the first ICO back in 2013, changing capital formation. I was co-founder of Blockchain Capital. We were the first venture capital fund dedicated to the cryptocurrency or blockchain industry, funding the Coinbases, Krakens, BitGos, et cetera. That's on Fund 5. I was co-founder of Tether, where we invented the stable coin, doing $100 to $300 billion a day, 50 plus trillion a year. Started the first crypto bank. I've gone on to start a few banks. BCAP, the first digital security. Block One and EOS, the largest ICO ever. Now there's Bullish and Helios, and I'm skipping over about 100 different things. And so I recognize how technology has the ability to transform the world in positive ways. Remember, it's amoral. Technology is a tool. How we use it will determine the impact it has. And at its core, what we're attempting to achieve with these technologies is to bring greater accountability back to the world, bring transparency to the world, and the democratization of access to tools and opportunity. And so I'm really happy to be doing that. I know what Justin was going to ask me about, at least initially, is some of the work that we're seeing, or the results of this. And so I'll quickly, I guess, dive into the things that we're seeing in El Salvador. It's worth noting that 4 to 4.5 billion people on the planet are on or underbanked, meaning a majority of the people on earth do not have the financial tools or access to the tools necessary to have that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the opportunity of a life of prosperity. If you were going to re-architect Maslow's hierarchy of needs today, basic financial services are essential to that, obviously, along with connectivity. And so let's double click on El Salvador. As I think some of you know, and if you don't, President Bukele and the government of El Salvador this summer announced that they were going to make Bitcoin legal tender, legal currency within that country. They decided to implement this law in 90 days, a completely entrepreneurial government. I mean, unheard of. Even as an entrepreneur, I thought that was a pretty aggressive timetable. And so 37 of us came down to El Salvador as the first formal delegation into the country since COVID, with a group of visionary entrepreneurs, investors, technologists, to assist the government in that implementation and rollout. It went live in terms of the government providing a wallet on September 7th. We call that Bitcoin Day. And in that country, only 30% of the population had access to basic financial services. 70% of the population of El Salvador were unbanked. When you use an Uber there, you pay with cash. It's not like connected to a credit card. It's a cash economy. Within 30 days of that law taking effect, a majority of the population of El Salvador had downloaded that digital dollar Bitcoin wallet called Chivo. In 30 days, a majority of the population. Now, 90 days later, within 90 days, over 70% of the population have done so. So from 30% being banked, we effectively now have 70% banked in a matter of 90 days. The data doesn't lie. This stuff works. Other amazing.
And Brock, if you don't mind, let me hop in with a question really quick. When you went down to El Salvador, were you warmly received? Was there a lot of opposition? Can you talk a little bit about that process that you went through in making this transformation?
Well, I mean, we were the ambassador from El Salvador, the United States, came over to my house in Washington, D.C., and said what it is that they were hoping to accomplish during that time period. And with the aggressive timetable, we organized as a group, 37 of us coming down there in under 6 days. And we had the most warm welcome possible, met with pretty much almost every major government official, from tourism to healthcare, obviously central banks and otherwise. And it was a very brief trip. We were there for 2 or 3 days, and many members of that group stuck around to actually facilitate the implementation or rollout of everything that's happened. We came back again to celebrate Bitcoin Day on September 7th. You should actually go watch some of those videos. Brought one of the most amazing drone shows, actually directly from Burning Man, to put the Bitcoin logo in the heavens, along with the El Salvadorian flag. And actually, just around the corner, there's going to be the big culmination of all of that is LaBitConf. It's the leading Bitcoin conference in South America. Had moved their event to El Salvador to honor and to celebrate everything that's happened there. And that'll be happening from November 15th to the 20th for anyone that's interested in checking it out and seeing for yourself. Well, since then, I've gone and spent time now with the presidents of Ecuador, Honduras, Guatemala, Panama, et cetera, working with all the neighboring countries there in Central America, because what El Salvador has done, again, the data doesn't lie, has created a lot of interest amongst other governments. I'm in talks with 30 other nations around the world that are interested in seeing how this or other ideas, how digital transformation or innovation might serve their people in their countries, and even things that we're seeing here in the United States. Mayor Suarez of Miami has obviously leaned in a big way, saying Miami wants to be part of the future. Miami wants to be a 21st century city, and Bitcoin is part of it. Mayor Suarez announced just a few days ago that he's going to take his next paycheck in Bitcoin, which then was immediately followed by the new mayor of New York City, or mayor-elect Eric Adams, who then quickly followed up saying, I'm taking my next 3 paychecks in Bitcoin. And now we're seeing a number of mayors across the United States doing the same. This has just been an extraordinary year. It started out with, call it the developers and the early adopters that were really leaning into this industry for philosophical reasons, which then was followed by academia, then followed by venture capital, then followed by big tech, then followed by big finance or the financial institutions of the world. And we're now in that final wave of, call it, adoption, which is government. And we're seeing it happening all over the world. It's been an incredible year for those of us that have been building a long time.
Hey, Brock, I just want to jump in for Justin here. And I want to ask you, you were talking about El Salvador. What is your take? What is your impression right now on, I know you're all about access, right? Access to wealth. What is your take on how it's gone so far down there? Because I know there was, like you said, it was started with a couple months notice, right? And a lot of confusion on the ground for individual consumers, for businesses. What is your assessment of how it's gone so far?
Well, I mean, I think it's about as successful as you could possibly have hoped. I mean, they put an aggressive plan forward to roll out this Bitcoin law in 90 days. I mean, what government is like, we're going to make a major technological rollout? Yeah. I mean, even for a startup, a 90-day plan would be aggressive. And we're talking about a government, which I love the entrepreneurial nature of Bukele and the El Salvadorian government. And considering that timetable, it could have gone horribly bad. It could have been a disaster. They got it done. Was it perfect? No, but perfection is the enemy of progress. And when people that need financial services have an opportunity to get them quickly, it worked. And again, over 50% of the population were adopted or onboarded within 30 days. It's now over 70% of the population within 3 months. I'd say it's a phenomenal success, but that doesn't mean that there's not still a long road to go. I mean, for all of you, I mean, did you understand what Bitcoin was in a matter of months? Did you really understand the value proposition? Well, I mean, the good news though is Bitcoin has gone up since then. And so all of these people that have been onboarded with this Bitcoin wallet from the government, the Chivo wallet, which also has US dollar, digital dollar capabilities within it, at least their first experience with Bitcoin has been a positive one in the sense of appreciation. President Bukele, because the government bought Bitcoin for its balance sheet as well, just announced that they're going to be using these massive Bitcoin profits to build a bunch of new schools throughout the country. So far, obviously, it's been, I think, as big a success as one could hope, but that's not to say that it's been perfect. And clearly, there's a long road of education, the educating of the masses. But the fact that every store, every McDonald's, everywhere you go accepts Bitcoin. I mean, El Salvador is the most probably advanced country in the world when it comes to financial services at this point, from being, basically far low call it in the maybe the top 150 as of 90 days ago. So I mean, it's been it's evidence that as countries, as leaders of nations, if we embrace the future, amazing things can happen for the benefit of our people, and it can happen quickly.
I'll be honest with you, Brock. Some nights I wonder if I even understand anything about this, because it's just it never stops. There's always more development. There's always more changes. If you zoom out from away from just El Salvador for a second and just zoom out on the entire world, if you could put a number on it, like what inning do you think we're in terms of true democratization, in terms of the masses really understanding and having access to this entire asset class?
Well, I'd say we're in the back half of the second inning. So these are still early days. You've got, call it a couple 100 million people that have cryptocurrency, tens of millions here in the US, about $3 trillion of aggregate market cap, meaning this has been the largest fastest largest wealth creation event in the history of the world. Yep. And what's really interesting, and a point that's often missed, is that, let's say the venture capital industry is about $250 billion. Venture capital as an industry is supposed to be investing in innovation or disruption. And as a sector, the VCs almost entirely missed this opportunity. They just didn't get it. They just couldn't see it coming. And remember, those VCs are asset managers that normally manage money on behalf of pensions, financial institutions, endowments, things of that nature. And because they completely missed it and the normal beneficiaries weren't it, this $3 trillion of wealth that is created has effectively all ended up in the hands of the people, which is an extraordinary thing, to put this much wealth or this much power into the hands of the masses, and not in any one place around the world. This capital is everywhere. We are getting pretty close to the point where a majority of the world's billionaires made their money from cryptocurrency. Just think about the dynamic, the power shift. And the fact that we all made our money faster and easier than anyone basically before us, at least at scale, means that we're going to have an impact on politics in the world. We're going to have an impact on philanthropy. We're going to have a big impact in innovation, because we're willing to do things that traditional, call it members of the elite, weren't willing to do, because they felt such possessiveness of the money and the wealth that they accumulated. We're kind of a different ilk. And so and we're single issue voters as we talk about the politics of it. Tens of millions of Americans that aren't Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're single issue voters. We only care about the future, and we care about politicians recognizing that the future is important to us. And I mean, I think it's an amazing thing to see, and we're going to watch the impact of that. And clearly, things have the ability to scale, from these numbers to a billion or a couple billion users really quickly. I don't think that it's going to take another 10 years to get, to double from where we are. I think that we're going to see massive growth over the next year, 2 or 3, and I think we're at that tipping point.
What are you more interested in? You're more interested in price appreciation or or mainstream development institutionalization of this asset class, or maybe they're the same thing?
Well, I'm not motivated by money, so the price itself is really just the primary barometer of sentiment and adoption. I've never made money my focus. I believe that making money is the byproduct of doing good work. Figure out what your mission is and what you're passionate about, and do whatever you're going to do really, really well. And money is likely that thing that will follow as a result of doing that. When you make money your focus, I find you tend not to get it. And so as adoption increases, as utility improves, as the promise of what this technology can do to better the lives of the people of the world, price appreciation is the byproduct of making that happen.
What is the number one thing, though, standing in the way of all that? Is it people using bad actors, right, in the community? What is the biggest thing standing in the way of mass adoption?
Education and usability. It's kind of like the internet in the early days. It takes a while for people to change their habits. I mean, just think about when Apple Pay came out. How many people stopped using their credit card once you were able to pay for things from your phone? The reality is most Americans took a very long time to make that migration. I mean, if you even have at this point, because it's hard to change human behavior. It's hard to change habit. And so the process of education, informing people, getting people to take their first step, which I've never encouraged people to invest in cryptocurrency other than to say, go buy your first $20 or buy your first $100 worth of Bitcoin, because I'm not encouraging you to make a financial investment. I'm encouraging you to make an investment in yourself, in your own knowing, so that you can see what this is all really about. And from there, you can make informed decisions for yourself. So let's call it education on the one hand. The other side is just usability. Really good user interfaces that make it easy to use, make it super secure. These products were built by, some serious techies. And, when you're dealing with really serious techies, consumer products that are easy for the masses to use is typically not their skill set. And so it's taken us a while to get to that point. And it's definitely a lot better than it was 5 years ago. But there still is a lot of room for improvement.
Last question for you, Brock. Of all the things in your career you've done, of all the businesses you've been a part of and all the things you've started, what are you most proud of?
Well, I think it was my run for president last year. Obviously, I had no chance of winning, and it wasn't about that. It was an exploratory mission to understand the mechanics of our political system, our government, or our system of governance. And to do that, and most people, you just have to think about, to step into the ultimate ring of fire, is to put your life, liberty, and all of your resources at risk. It's a very high stakes game, but it's one of those things like if you see a child in the road and a bus coming, there's an obligation to act. And I think there's an opportunity to make a big impact in our system of governance. And now having done that, I have so much I have so much respect for anyone that runs for political office, because it requires an incredible amount of courage, because the risks are real. But if you want, be the change you wish to see in the world, the future is going to happen to us or with us. So let's get involved and co-create a future that we all want to live in, and one that works for all of us. I
got to say, I did not see that answer coming. Brock Pierce, General Partner, Board of Directors, SpaceFund, Bit Digital, and many, many, many other ventures, doing fantastic work in the space. Mr. Pierce, thank you so much for being our keynote speaker today at the Benzinga Fintech Awards.
Thank you for having me.